Next, we will continue discussing the life of Guru Padmasambhava. Tomorrow we will discuss the book Decoding the Secrets of the Superbrain. This is the book that was distributed to you over the last few days. Since we are finishing the biography today, let's spend a few minutes every day reading through this new book. I might not explain every detail, but it will still be very helpful for you. Today is our final teaching on Guru Rinpoche. These days on the island of Drāmiḍa, the secret Moondrop Tantra continues to be taught and practiced widely. This represents a tradition that originated only with the master. Back in Jetsun Tāranātha's time, in that very place of Drāmiḍa, there were some followers of Guru Rinpoche. This is so also with the great Tantra, the ornament of the Vajra essence, and the Tantras of Vajrapani, Vajragandhar, Yamantaka, Hayagrava, Mahakala, and the 7 Matrikas, along with many other minor Tantras. As mentioned earlier, some monasteries only follow the tradition of Guru Rinpoche, while others follow different traditions. This specific monastery, however, follows the tradition of the master Janapada. Some biographies state that Master Jnanapada was actually one of the masters of Guru Rinpoche. There can be seen even now in that country a group called the Mahaga, who follow only the venerable Master Janapada and consider only his 4 heart sons' teachings as important. In this area, the main master here is Akarya Janapada. According to the wondrous histories of great Vajrayana Mahasiddhas, Jnanapada's main disciples are recorded there, including figures like Santimitra and Dipankarabhadra. Jnanapada had several close disciples, and these may be the ones being referred to here. They have therefore spread very extensively the tradition of the master Padmakara, namely the Hevajra and Sri Paramadya, and those mentioned above. All of them propagated Guru Rinpoche's teachings. During his stay in Drāmiḍa, Guru Rinpoche also composed commentaries related to these specific tantras. Among the secret tantras available today, especially within the Nyingma collection, we can still find many treatises composed by Guru Rinpoche and quite a large number translated by him. You can also find the pith instructions of Guhyasamaja written by the master. This is another example, like the Garland of Views pith instructions we discussed last time. Part of this text may have been composed directly in Tibetan. His commentary on the chanting of the names of Manjushra was originally composed in Sanskrit. Later on, translators like Kawa Paltseg, also pronounced Kawa Hwalse in Amdo, translated it into Tibetan. In modern Chinese texts, he is usually rendered as Paltseg. In the Great Tibetan Chinese Dictionary, this pronunciation is also used, so the dictionary was probably compiled by scholars from Lhasa area. This is because the dictionary includes contributors from both Lhasa and Amdo. People in the Lhasa area pronounce it as Kawa Paltseg, while people in Amdo usually pronounce it as Kawa Hwalse. Some texts were written by Guru Rinpoche himself, while others were composed by other masters at Guru Rinpoche's request. The place where the Dakins were first bound under oath was called Lampastya, where in the cave there is a hearth made by his own hand. It is very likely that Guru Rinpoche stayed there, displaying miraculous powers on one hand, while also using a hearth to cook his meals on the other. This is something we often see in the sacred places where Guru Rinpoche stayed. They often preserve traces of his physical presence, such as handprints, footprints, and all kinds of sacred signs. We see such wonders in many of our sacred mountains. The latter 2 bindings were done at a place called Alapastya, that is a cave, but it is not the same place as the one mentioned earlier. The locations of the later 2 subjugations were in the region of Drāmiḍa, as we mentioned earlier. There are about 1,000 imprints left when the Kīla daggers struck the Dakins. Activity Kīla daggers do not usually remain in the domain of ordinary beings. Therefore, the signs of accomplishment from his Vajrakilaya practice, including certain imprints and physical signs he left behind, may not appear within the perception of ordinary beings. When His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche was at the sacred mountain of Guaya, many distinct miraculous signs manifested, including red mantras on the rocks. As time went on, some of those mantras faded away, while others can still be seen today. Yet, whereas all the others disappeared, one still remains, so that beings in the future would have faith. It is said the wisdom deity dissolved into the body of the master, and thus a single material color dagger was left behind. This unique color dagger is still preserved in the region of Drāmiḍa today. It has remained in that location for centuries. This particular color dagger is truly extraordinary. No substance such as stone, wood, copper, or iron compares to it. It may contain some elements of these materials, but it is not simply a Vajrakilaya made entirely of copper, nor is it made entirely of iron. It is as if, rather than having been made, it had spontaneously appeared, measuring about the length of 3 people. Therefore, this sacred kala dagger may be a self-manifested sacred object. In the photo of Tenzin Tulku that I showed you that day, there was a large boulder in the background. I am not sure if that boulder is the Kīla mentioned in the text. However, Jetsun Tāranātha explicitly stated that it is not made of ordinary stone. Perhaps it is a specialized natural material rather than common stone. We cannot know for certain whether that is the one. In any case, Jetsun Tāranātha recorded that a uniquely marvelous Kala dagger exists there. When you travel to Drāmiḍa in the future, you should look for this Kala dagger. If circumstances allow you to travel there, you should definitely go to Drāmiḍa and take a look. After all, Guru Rinpoche stayed in that region for 12 years, or at least 6 years. The story goes that at first there was a strong Kala dagger made of wood. During practice, it increased vastly in size, and through visualization could expand or shrink according to one's mind. It could move and speak and so on, just like the actual deity. This Kala was exceptionally rare. It became a whirling firebrand too, when one of the main Pishaka Mantradharins made her body the size of Mount Meru and was just about to flee. Right at that moment, the Kala dagger also became the size of a mountain and struck her down. Later, it is said, the wisdom deity dissolved into Guru Rinpoche's body, with brilliant light radiating and blazing flames appearing. Once these powerful flames gradually subsided, this Kala dagger was what remained. This is precisely the Kala dagger, the physical Kala we mentioned earlier. This particular Kala dagger is truly extraordinary and rare. Whatever its material may be, it is certainly an exceptionally unique Kala dagger. If you ever have the chance to visit this island, you should look for the sacred Kala dagger left behind by Guru Rinpoche. Its current appearance may be the same as what was described, or perhaps it has become something like a fossil. We cannot know for sure. It may also have taken another form. With these final accounts, Jetsun Tāranātha has basically finished the main account of Guru Rinpoche's life. The biography is mainly divided into his activities in the Indian region, his activities in the Tibetan region, and his time in Drāmiḍa. Among the stories from India, there are many scattered stories about Guru Rinpoche, as well as some detailed accounts. However, those long detailed stories are not included here. They might be recorded in his other writings, because they are not found in the history of Buddhism in India. These accounts actually came down to us from the great accomplished master Shantigupta, and there is an even more detailed and extensive account from the lineage of the master Devakara from Drāmiḍa. Tāranātha said, I heard these stories from direct disciples of both of these two masters. These are the main sources for these accounts. This is because Jetsun Tāranātha had never traveled to Drāmiḍa himself. Many historical records also show that he had never visited India. So how did he compile all this information? He clearly explained his source material here. One source is Master Shantigupta. As for Shantigupta, we do not have much information about him. In the wondrous histories of great Vajrayana Mahasiddhas, there is a master named Shantigarbha. He also seems to have come to Tibet, but it may not necessarily be the same person as Shantigupta. So one source is Master Shantigupta, and the other is a master from Drāmiḍa. This master who came from Drāmiḍa was named Devakara. The text is based on the oral transmission of the lineage disciples of these two masters. To detail his enlightened activities in the Tibetan region, he selected accounts that were commonly found across various sources. He relied on accounts that appeared consistently across different sources, and used these reliable references in writing his account. Accounts about his time in the Tibetan region are generally easier to trace. For example, in recent times, scholars have compiled many biographies of Guru Rinpoche found within the Terma treasures. They have edited and published many volumes. In our Tibetan tradition, there are many biographies of Guru Padmasambhava, with each Terma containing different accounts. Therefore, the number of these records is truly vast. There are so many biographies of Guru Rinpoche.
무지 zonto 이심 소르게 당 레진 라트 메트 잠보 이 마오 더샤 남라 판비 신 밤이 남들은 좀 저거든 저 정도들 나스게르게 손동 근데 좀 아방가 다리게 그아브디 마오 가르마 무지 zonto 이심 소르게 당 레진 라트 메트 잠보 저는 돈 아마도 잠바에 밤에남 다른 좀 장한다 ям수죠 쳇기 녀선 간단한 조장담 잡으시고 아야 머지zon도 이심 소리죠.
I remember there is a terma text about the concise biography of Guru Padmasambhava. It says that Dakin Yeshe Tsogyal, who attained the Dharan of unforgetting memory, and the fortunate Prince Mutri Tsenpo, wrote countless biographies of Guru Rinpoche for the benefit of future generations. These biographies were said to be as numerous as the drops of water in the ocean. May fortunate beings in the future have the opportunity to encounter them. Therefore, there is an immense number of biographies of the Guru in the Tibetan region. They are truly abundant. In the biography, Jetsun Tāranātha wrote, I have also heard a tiny part of the instructions of the Master that originated in Drāmiḍa and that was transmitted through Indian scholars. Although I have not actually seen the historical texts that tell the Indian tales, the tales are included in the texts of the history of our lineage of teachers, both scholars and masters. If you read the biography of Tāranātha, you will notice that many of his masters were from India and were highly proficient in Sanskrit. He had many masters who were well versed in Sanskrit, including many learned Panditas and accomplished Siddhas. So the accounts of Guru Rinpoche's time in Drāmiḍa mainly come from Indian sources of transmission. As for the history concerning the spread of the Dharma to Drāmiḍa, they all conform to the stainless teachings of the sublime beings, the scholars and the accomplished ones, that are transmitted from ear to ear. When it comes to the history of Drāmiḍa, the text is composed of the recorded teachings of numerous great masters. He wrote them down exactly as they were. Throughout the text, not even the slightest part of what is put together here should be abbreviated or removed, but rather it should be supplemented with many more truthful and amazing episodes. He did not reduce anything. He simply added some rare and extraordinary accounts, such as the unique Kīla dagger that we discussed earlier. In the caves and forests of Drāmiḍa, Guru Padmasambhava invoked and subdued many dakins and queens and established the Dharma there. This creates an excellent auspicious connection. In the future, when we consider our own activities, we can also think about this. Whether we are establishing a Dharma center or doing other things, we may also have some special karmic connections. It is said in the Indian histories that the Master also worked for the benefit of beings on the island of Hamuju and places such as Sikadara, Dharmakosha, and Rukma. But I was unable to find those accounts. Although I have also seen many quite wonderful stories in the context of expounding the meaning of the extraordinary Dharma instructions of Tibetan region, there are too many to include here. He felt that including it would make the text too long, so he did not include it. Next we come to the brief concluding verse of the text. Some unintelligent people, using only blind faith, make up many stories in order to increase the faith of beings. Most people are very stupid, so regardless of whether they are false or meaningless, it is possible this would increase their faith. Here the Master notes that certain individuals of dull intellect and blind faith, in order to inspire devotion in others and to evoke joy in their hearts, have written voluminous biographies, be they accounts of Guru Padmasambhava or biographies of other lineage gurus. They may make up these stories with some additional details to inspire greater faith. However, the majority of ordinary beings are quite ignorant. Because most ordinary beings are deeply obscured, they will easily develop faith in things that are untrue. They blindly produce devotion based on falsehoods. Therefore, when recording the biography of a guru, we must never add our own conceptual fabrications. For example, when writing some memoirs, I didn't include things that I cannot clearly remember. Otherwise, you could add many things that you do not actually remember. You could easily add a lot of made-up details, but that is unnecessary. There is no need for that. So the author mentions that some people with limited understanding at that time, when explaining the biographies of Guru Rinpoche or other masters, did so in order to increase people's faith, but there was no need to add such things. When the learned see and hear them, they are embarrassed, and thereby doubts are generated with regard to even sublime beings and pure teachings. Can there be a more harmful action than this work of Mara? So when learned scholars read or hear the unreliable accounts I just mentioned, they may actually find them quite laughable. Consequently, they may begin to doubt the authentic Dharma and lose faith in genuine spiritual teachers. If the biography you write is untruthful, it causes people to doubt the true Dharma and genuine gurus. This is the exact work of Mara. It is indeed the activity of the Maras. What greater harm could there be than this? What fault in this world could be greater than this? The negative consequence of this is immense. Especially when we record history, we must remain truthful. Otherwise, if we present things that are not true, it will be a case of the blind leading the blind, creating very serious faults. In the future, within our own community, whether we are doing translation work or academic research, everything we write must be backed by reliable evidence. We should write only after verifying the facts repeatedly. Otherwise, as we see nowadays, some people write down hearsay directly, recording rumors directly into text, which brings tremendous fault and should be avoided. What Tāranātha said is indeed correct, and there is no need to add anything unnecessary. So how did he write it? Abandon now any doubts about this extraordinary biography, for it contains no excessive exaggeration or empty words. This short composition could outshine a great volume of invented stories, 100-fold. The biography he composed here completely dispels doubts. Moreover, he did not exaggerate any details. There are no exaggerated expressions in it. With only a few words and simple expressions, this text is 100 times more valuable than the voluminous fabrications of others. He wrote it very well. Although this biography of Guru Padmasambhava is relatively brief compared with those exaggerated accounts that are hundreds of pages long and very extensive, its genuine value is more than 100 times greater. The author himself explained that this account is reliable without any exaggeration. It uses very truthful language and is written very well. That is the meaning here. Through the merit of writing this, may I attain the level of the Master and lead all beings to liberation. Although I have told this clear, pure, and faithful story, it was only through the blessings of the Master entering my heart. This means that by relying on the roots of virtue accumulated from sharing this concise biography of Guru Padmasambhava, may all sentient beings swiftly achieve the state of Guru Padmasambhava, and may it guide them along the path until they reach ultimate liberation. The subtitle of this biography is 3 Reasons for Confidence. It has 3 qualities: clarity, purity, and inspiring confidence. First, it is clear. Its words and expressions are clear, and its content is pure. It naturally inspires unwavering confidence. So this biography possesses these 3 unique qualities. How did this biography come to possess these 3 qualities? It was mainly because the blessings of Guru Padmasambhava entered the heart of its author, Jetsun Tāranātha. That is how he was able to write it. Moreover, in the author's secret biography, many details are revealed. It mentions that he is an emanation of Longchen Rabjam, and he received an immense amount of blessings from Guru Padmasambhava. However, I currently feel that within Tibetan Buddhism, there seems to be a certain shortcoming. Many people seem unwilling to read the works of other traditions. Relatively speaking, and I do not say this to praise ourselves or disparage others, the Nyingma school is somewhat more open in this regard. For example, disciples in the lineage of His Holiness, Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, teach the Dharma of Je Tsongkhapa, as well as the teachings of the Sakya and Jonang schools. Yet in certain other schools, certain masters, geshes, and khenpos are unwilling even to mention the name of Guru Rinpoche or that of the omniscient Longchenpa. When citing scriptural sources, some geshes and khenpos may be highly knowledgeable and eloquent, but apart from the teachings of their own tradition, they rarely cite the teachings of other schools. As for us, we often mention scientists and philosophers, various non-Buddhist figures, and prominent masters from other religions. If we mention all of their names so frequently, yet never mention figures from other schools within Tibetan Buddhism, I feel that something is not quite right. Perhaps it is not intentional, but it still seems somewhat inappropriate. Of course, not everyone is like this, but some people are usually very eloquent, yet they rarely quote the teachings of other schools. They won't even mention them, constantly talking around the subject to avoid it. They clearly know that a teaching or blessing originates, for example, from Guru Rinpoche's kindness and blessings, or from a similar source. Yet when they teach, They would rather mention non-Buddhist traditions, or they would prefer to bring up the names of secular celebrities and public figures who have never studied Buddhism while avoiding any mention of Guru Rinpoche. This kind of attitude is simply too narrow-minded. As Buddhists, whoever we may be, we should try to be more open-minded and tolerant, rather than being selfish or overly concerned about small matters. Then we may feel more at ease. Otherwise, if we get ourselves stuck in a narrow way of thinking, we may find it difficult to get out. That would not be very good. This is simply my personal observation, and I'm not referring to anyone in particular. But I do often notice that certain individuals from some schools would rather mention non-Buddhists or the names of various others than mention the great masters of other schools within Tibetan Buddhism. They neither mention their names nor cite their scriptural sources. This can also be seen in their writings and books. Such situations do indeed exist. The text then continues, I have no wish for fame in the world, or to have followers, or to create a fierce dispute. It is a condition for my faith and the faith of those who follow my words, nectar to the ears and minds of the learned. He explained, I did not compose this treatise for those who are governed by the 8 worldly concerns, who are consumed by jealousy, or who enjoy creating dispute. People like this would certainly never acknowledge Guru Rinpoche's qualities. Those driven by jealousy would certainly never accept them. Therefore, I did not compose it for them. Then for whom did I compose it? I wrote it for the wise people who follow me, in the hope that it would strengthen their faith and become a favorable condition for them to receive it with joy, as well as a condition for attaining the nectar of immortality. That is why I composed this treatise. This life and liberation of the emanation of the Vajra speech of all the Tathagatas, the great master of Uddiyana, Padmasambhava, is called 3 reasons for confidence. It was motivated by my companion Changnyun Kunga Palsang, who stays and travels with me. Speaking of this, a few Khenpos from the Jonang school visited me the other day and presented me with a statue of Jetsun Tāranātha. They offered me a statue of Tāranātha. I had planned to bring it to class today. However, since I had too many meetings today, I completely forgot about it. I just remembered the statue of Tāranātha, thinking it would nourish my faith. It was composed by me, Tāranātha, a vagabond, aged 36, in the Jomo Hermitage in Nagyal. It seems he wrote his History of Buddhism in India at 33, and he wrote the wondrous histories of great Vajrayana Mahasiddhas when he was only in his 20s. He composed many treatises while he was still young. At the age of 36, he composed this text at the supreme site of Jomo Hermitage, the name of his monastic seat. May virtue increase Mangalam. I completed the translation of this text on July 2nd, 2014.
Kirgana jirano chupai chupun solen drāmiḍa
Vajrakilaya Padmasambhava Vajrakilaya Padmasambhava Vajrakilaya Padmasambhava